We're getting back to our Fairly Odd Parents collection today, and we will be working on Wanda. And for that we will be using a standard rainbow loom in the offset position. And the bands we're going to be using are the gel fuchsia bands, skin tone, yellow, black, and white. We're going to do the attachments first, and we're going to start with her arms, and we're going to use yellow for her shirt and skin tone for her hands. We'll start with the yellow. Everything will be double banded, so you'll need 2 yellow bands from the 6th peg from the bottom to the 5th peg, and we are going to go down 3 times with 2 yellow bands. Followed by 2 skin tone bands 2 times. And we'll cap this with a single skin tone band wrapped 3 times around the peg. We're going to do the same thing for the other side. 2 yellow bands 3 times down the left side from the 6th peg from the bottom. And we'll need 2 skin tone bands 2 times on the left. And we'll cap this with a single skin tone band wrapped 3 times around the last peg. And now we can loop this. We'll reach inside the cap band, grabbing the 2 bands and looping forward. We're going to make sure that we have a teardrop every time, because if we don't, we know that there's a problem. And we're doing the same thing on the other side, looping forward, making sure we have both bands and that we're forming teardrops as we go. We can take this and place it on our holding hook, removing it from the loom so we can set it aside. Next we're going to do her ears and her nose, and we'll use skin tone bands. We'll take a single skin tone band and wrap it around our hook 3 times. This is for the first ear. We'll take a second skin tone band and double it and thread these 3 loops onto that double band. We're going to do the same thing. We'll take another skin tone band, wrap it 3 times around our hook, and thread it onto a double loop skin tone band. And this will give us our second ear, which we can place on our holding hook. And we will set this aside. For her nose, we're using skin tone bands, and we'll take a single skin tone band and double it, wrap it around our hook 3 times. We're going to thread this onto a double loop skin tone band, and I'm going to leave her nose here on my hook. Next we're going to do the attachment for her bangs, and her hair is pink, so we're going to take a single pink band and wrap it around our hook 2 times, and we're going to thread this onto a single pink band 3 times. That's 1, 2, and 3. And we can set this aside. We'll start with the crown, and we're going to use yellow bands. So for the crown, we are going to wrap a single yellow band 3 times around the hook, and we are going to thread those onto 2 yellow bands 2 times. That's 1. And 2. And we need to secure this end with a slip knot. So I am going to double loop my slip knot and pull that through. What we need to do now is take another single yellow band, double it. We're going to reach inside our cap bands and we're going to form a slip knot with this double loop band. And you don't want to pull it too tight because you're going to need to position it at the side of the band. And we're going to do that again with the center teardrop. Take a single yellow band, double it. We're going to place our hook inside all of those teardrops, and we're going to form a slip knot in this section as well. And we want to pull this slip knot towards the top. These are going to work as our peaks of the crown. And the same thing with our cap band. We're going to slide it up around and to the top. So this is our crown, and we can set that aside. And next, we're going to work on the tie. And again, I'm using bands that I have used on previous projects because I need to double loop all of these bands. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a single black band and double it. We're going to wrap it around our hook 3 times, and we are going to thread this onto 6 double loop black bands. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what we need now are yellow bands, and we are going to take a single yellow band and double it, and we want to attach 5 double loop yellow bands to this one band. And however you find that easiest, if you want to place this over 2 pegs and use that to attach your 5 double loop bands, you want to go inside one side of this and form your slip knot. Or if you find it easier to just leave it on your finger and do it that way, you can do that as well. Again, we will take another yellow band, double it, and form a slip knot on the original double loop yellow band. So we're just going to go all the way around and attach 5 double loop single yellow bands. That's 3. 4. And 5. Okay, and what we want to do now is we are going to put our hook through all of the ends of our slip knot bands, the loops that are formed from our slip knot, and you want to make sure that you catch all 5 of them. Well, there's going to be 10, but all 5 of your slip knot bands you want to grab the ends and put them on your hook. and that will leave you with a loop at the bottom. And what we want to do is take a single yellow band and double it and carefully thread it through all of these loops. It's going to be tight, so be careful. And we want to form one more final slip knot. And what we want to do is take one of our black links, and we are going to take our yellow bauble that we just made, and we are going to turn this into a slip knot on the end of this link. So you want to pull your yellow slip knot band through. We're going to pull the bauble through, and then we are going to grab the other end and form our slip knot. And we're going to tighten that up. And then what we're going to do is put the end of our black link through, and we're just going to twist this and put the end of the black chain through again, and we will slide that up and tighten it onto the end. And we can slide the yellow bands all the way up and off the black bands, and this will give us our little wand. And next we're going to make the wings, and for that we're using our clear bands. And what we're going to do is we are going to take one clear band and put it 3 times going down the right side. We're going to go back up and put one clear band from the first peg on the right to the second peg in the center. And then we're going to go down 3 times with one clear band. And we're going to close this off with a clear band from the 5th peg down in the center to the 4th peg on the right. And we'll cap this with a single clear band wrapped 3 times around the peg. And we can loop this starting in the center. We're going to reach in and grab the top single clear band and loop it over to the right. Next, we're going to loop up the center. And over to the first peg on the right. And now we can loop up the right side. To there, and we're just going to leave that on our loom for now because we're going to make the second wing, and we're just going to repeat what we just did. We're going to take a single clear band and go down 3 times on the right side, go over from the top band down 1 peg to the left, and then down 3 times in the center pins, or wherever on your loom you're doing these. And we are going to go over from the center to the right, and we will cap this with a single clear band wrapped 3 times. And again, we can loop this starting in the center. We're going to reach inside the cap band, grab the top clear band, and loop it to the right, and then we're going to loop up the center, and then we will loop up the right side. Oops, sorry, I need to loop from the center to the right and then up the right side. And we are going to remove this second wing from our loom. And we are going to take this and attach it to the first peg on the right on top of our other wing. And then we are going to take a single clear band and we're going to form a slip knot. We're going to reach inside all of these bands, grab our clear band, pull it up through, making sure we've grabbed all of the bands, and we will form our slip knot. Hopefully. There we go. And now we can, now we can remove our other wing off the loom. And with a little bit of stretching and tweaking, this will give us our wings with your wings, and we can set these aside. We're going to start with her shoes, and she has black shoes. They're actually it looks like they're part of her pants, like they have footies in them or something. We're going to take 2 black bands and put them around the last 2 pegs at the bottom. We're going to cap this with a single black band wrapped 3 times around the peg. Again, 2 black bands on the last 2 pegs, capped with a single black band wrapped 3 times. These we can loop. You could also do this with just your hook. Wrap a black band around your hook 3 times and thread it onto 2 black bands twice, but we will take these and remove them from the loom and set them aside. And now we're ready to do her eye attachments. And her eyes are pink, so we are going to take, need my hook. We're going to take a single fuchsia band and double it and wrap it around our hook 3 times. And this we are going to thread onto a double loop white band. And we're going to do that again. Take a single fuchsia band and double it, wrap it around our hook 3 times, and we're going to thread it onto a double loop white band. Here we go. And because she has pink eyes, I'm using these bands. You can use e-beads if you like, if you happen to have that color. And we're going to need a skin tone band, and we are just going to take our 2 eyes and thread them onto a single skin tone band. And we can put this on our holding hook. And I believe that's it for our attachments. So now we're ready to band our loom. And we're going to start with her hair, and we're going to use 2 pink bands from the first peg in the center to the second peg in the center, 2 pink bands from the first peg in the center to the first peg on the left, 2 pink bands from the first peg in the center to the first peg on the right, and we are going to go down both sides with 2 pink bands 2 times. So we need 2 pink bands going down the left 2 times, and 2 pink bands on the right 2 times. And we can move on to skin tone bands for her face. We're going to put 2 skin tone bands 3 times going down the center, I like to use 3 bands for the neck, so we'll take 3 skin tone bands and continue down the center. And we'll go back up for her face and put 2 skin tone bands continuing down the left side, 2 skin tone bands continuing on the right, 2 more skin tone bands from the 5th peg in the center to the 4th peg on the left, and 2 more from the 5th peg in the center to the fourth peg on the right. Now we'll move down to her shirt, which is yellow, and again everything will be double banded, so you'll use 2 bands, and we're going to continue down the center with 2 yellow bands 3 times. And we're going to move over to the left and put 2 yellow bands from the 6th peg in the center to the 6th peg on the left. And we are going to go down the left side 3 times with 2 yellow bands. We're going to go over and do the same thing on the right. 2 yellow bands from the 6th peg in the center to the 6th peg on the right. And we will go down the right side 3 times with 2 yellow bands. And now we can move on to her pants. And we're going to use black bands. And we're going to take 2 black bands and continue down the center. And 2 black bands 4 times going down the left side. And 2 black bands going down the right side 4 times. And we are going to close off her slacks in the center by putting 2 black bands from the 4th peg up from the bottom in the center to the 5th peg on the left, and 2 black bands from the 4th peg up from the bottom in the center to the 5th peg up on the right. And this we're going to cap with a single black band wrapped 3 times around the center pin. And now we're ready for our holding bands. A single pink band around the 1st peg on the left and the right, and the 2nd peg in the center. A skin tone band around the 2nd peg on the left and the right, and the 3rd peg in the center. The eyes are going to go around the 3rd pegs on the left and the right, so we will put a single skin tone band around the 4th pegs on the left and the right and in the center. And for her shirt, we are going to put a single yellow band around the 7th pegs on the left, right, and center, and a single yellow band on the 8th pegs on the left, right, and center. And our last band will be a single black band around the 9th pegs, but we're going to double it. So that means we're going to put it around all 3 pegs, cross it over itself, and put it back around those same 3 pegs. And now we're ready for our attachments. We can start with her eyes. We're going to put them one end on the 3rd peg going down on the left from the top. We'll separate the eyes and stretch 1 band over the 3rd peg down in the center, and place the other end of the band around the 3rd peg going down from the top on the right. Next on my hook I have her shoes, and they're going to go on the bottom peg on the left and the bottom peg on the right. And I have her bangs. And her bangs I'm going to attach to the top peg in the center. Next we have her ears. and they are going to go on the second peg going down on the left, and the second peg going down on the right. Next we'll attach her arms, and they're going to go on the sixth peg down on the left, and the sixth peg from the top on the right. Next we can attach her crown, and you should have a cap band thread onto 2 yellow bands twice, your double looped slip knot securing this 2-link chain, a double loop slip knot on the center teardrop, and a double loop slip knot on the cap band. And we are going to take the cap band and attach it to the center pin at the top, and we are going to take the last teardrop and attach it to the top pin on the right, and that will attach her crown. Now we're ready to loop, so we are going to reach inside our cap band, and we are going to grab the top 2 bands, which are going to the right, and the next 2 bands, which go over to the left. And now we can loop up the left side, reaching inside our foot attachment and looping those 2 bands forward, and we will loop all the way to the neck, making sure that we have both bands, that we're staying inside the holding bands, and that we are forming a teardrop or a raindrop shape as we go. Loop to the neck. We can go down and do the same thing on the right side, reaching inside the foot attachment, grabbing those 2 bands and looping them forward. And we will continue up the right side, making sure that we're staying inside the holding bands. And again, we want to make sure that we're forming that raindrop shape as we loop around the peg above. And now we can loop up the center, reaching inside and grabbing those 2 bands. And next we should have 3 yellow to loop, and we'll be at our neck. And we need to remember that there are 3 bands holding our neck, so we want to make sure that we grab all 3 of those bands and loop them up over the 5th peg. And then we can reach in and grab the top 2 skin tone bands, which will go to the right. The next 2 skin tone bands are going to go over to the left. And now we can loop up the left side, staying inside our holding bands, making sure that we're not catching our eye band or the ear bands, and again that we're forming that raindrop shape. Loop over the top peg at the center. We can loop up the right side, reaching inside the holding band and looping forward. And grabbing just the bottom 2 bands. And now we can loop up the center, and when you get to the 4th peg from the top, this is where you attach the nose. So we're just going to slide the nose down onto those bands before you loop them up over the 3rd peg. And then we just have the last 2 bands to loop. And we're going to double check that we have looped all of the bands. And we can secure this top pin with a slip knot. I'm going to reach inside all of these bands, grab a hold of my single pink band, And I'm going to pull it up through all of those bands. And form my slip knot. And now we're ready to remove this from the loom. So we are going to carefully remove the legs, and then I'll use my hook and pry these off. And when I get to the neck, I'm going to put my hook down through the center of that pin and roll my hook around that pin to release the bands. There's a lot of bands there and it's tight, and we want to release the tension so that the bands don't stretch and break. And the rest come off relatively well. I'll reach inside here and remove that from our loom. And like most things, when you first take it off the loom, it doesn't look like much, but all she needs is a little tweaking, a little stretching here and stretching there. So I'm going to adjust her eyes so they're facing front. Adjust her ears. And fix her arms. I'm going to grab a hold of the teardrop shape, grab the two bands, and just give them a little tug so that the arm is pointing down to her side. I'll do the same thing a little bit on this side, and I want to bend her arm at the elbow. So again, I just grabbed a hold of one side of my teardrop shape and just gave it a little tug in the direction that I want it to point to. We're going to do the same thing with her feet and her shoes. So we are going to find the first teardrop shape, put our hook in, and we will just give that a little tug to the side. And again, that's going to help define her foot. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Reach in and pull that a little bit to the side to make it look more like she has shoes on and actual feet. Here we go. Fix her eyes. I'm going to give her a white mouth for teeth. So I'm going to put my hook in through the general area of where her mouth is, grab a hold of this white band and pull it through to the back. I'm still holding on to the band in the front. I'm going to put my hook again from the back to the front, grab a hold of the other end of that white band and pull it through to the back. These ends I'm going to secure with a C-clip. There we go. And I'm going to adjust her mouth. I just want to tug the bands down a little bit and try to make them loop a little bit so it looks like a smile. It's sometimes awkward to do, but I find it looks better than having nothing. So even if you just used a skin tone band to represent plain lips, that would be fine. Or a colored band for lipstick if it's a girl. And I like to use white bands to represent teeth. So there's that. I'm going to adjust her legs a little bit. That's that. I'm going to secure the slip knot in the back, and I'm just going to weave it through a couple of spots. You can also attach it to your C-clip as well. That's out of the way. And now her bangs are not behaving kind of like I want them to. So all I'm going to do, I still want it to look like she has bangs. So I'm just going to stick my hook in through one of the side hair pieces and grab one of the ends and just tuck it loosely through. It doesn't need to be secured, it doesn't need to be anything, I just want it kind of there and poofy. So I'm going to leave that like that. Next we have to attach the wings. And again, I showed you how to do the wings, and you're going to just attach them with a slip knot in the center. So easy peasy. I'm going to stick my hook down in through the front to the back, and I'm going to grab a hold of this slip knot band and pull it to the front. And what I want to do is, in a different spot, or making sure that I have a couple of bands between where I went through the first time, I want to put my hook again and grab a hold of that slip knot band again and pull it back through to the back. And what we're going to do now is open up the slip knot, and we're going to just cross it over the wings a couple of times to secure them. We'll give that a little tug. And if they're not sitting properly the way you want them to, you can also secure this with a C-clip. I just find that this usually works, except now I find, looking at it, her wings are drooping far too low for my liking. So I'm going to take a C-clip and put it through one of the neck bands on one side and one of the neck bands on the other. And then I'm going to grab the wings and pull them up through that C-clip. And that will hold them in the right position for me. And again, for the wand, this we're going to place in her hand. And to do that, we're going to put our hook down through the top two bands of her hand. And again, you don't want to go down through the teardrop shape, looking at it this way, but you want the top two bands of her hand. And we're just going to stretch that open and tuck in the end of her wand, and we can pull that down a little bit, and that way it looks like she's holding the wand. And there you go. This is Wanda from Fairly Odd Parents, and thank you so much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please comment below what your thoughts and feelings are, and post pictures if you've tried this, or you can reach me on Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram. The links are below as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We still have a bunch more to go, and we're working on Big Brother 16, the Archie Gang, Stampy Cat and all of his Minecraft friends, and lots more than that still to come. So again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.